Well, welcome to my podcast, and I'm sitting here today with Patsy Arnett. And she and I have had many adventures. She's my speaking agent, and she is with the Worldwide Speakers Group, and thus so am I. And we've been to many places around the USA together and had such fun, and I hope raised quite a lot of money. So welcome, Patsy. Thank you so much for joining me today. Do you realise it's a decade since we first met each other? So
That's right.
Time to raise a glass.
Happy 10-year anniversary.
It has been amazing, hasn't it? And I don't really know where to start, but to my mind, perhaps if I started by remembering how I met you, which was after I'd written the book Lady Almina and the Real Downton Abbey, which I know it spent 60 weeks in the New York Times bestsellers list. It was so amazing, and I'm so in debt to Almina for all she did. And I think through that you cold called me, I think, didn't you?
I did cold call you. I have Diane Byrne at the Women's Club of Richmond to thank for that, because that's when Downton Abbey was really taking off and was an epic hit in the United States, and there was so much interest in Downton Abbey and the Downton Abbey Castle, which is Highclere Castle, which we all have come to love and adore, and everyone wants to go there and stay there and have dinner there. Anyway, we had a conversation, and she said, wouldn't it be great to talk to the people who actually live there? And so I thought, well, it would be. And I called the castle, rang you up. I think I talked to Candace.
You did, Candace Bovell, who was amazing. She still is amazing.
Yeah,
so
many years ago. And
you invited me to Richmond, Virginia. And I remember I hadn't quite realised the extraordinary size that America is in terms of its landmass, and hadn't quite understood how long the internal flights were. So I got that completely wrong. I was like, what do you mean it takes me so many hours? And anyway, having done that, we had such a great time, and my husband and Eddie came too, which I remember.
It was such a joy to meet them. And Eddie at the time was, 12 years old?
Goodness knows, I can't remember.
That was 10 years ago, so...
It was a while ago now, wasn't it? And my lesson after that was, before we set off on our other adventures, I still open a huge Times Atlas of the world, open it to America, and look at where you're proposing to send me. So I have some sort of idea, which I know is not very modern, but it works for me. And I have a sense of where I'm travelling, and I've seen so many amazing places in America, which perhaps I otherwise wouldn't have travelled to. And we've raised a lot of money, haven't we, for great American charities. We have
done a great job. You have done a great job for charities, crisscrossing the United States now. But the map that you look at is such a great visual to really see the distance between, I'm going to this city, I've got to go all the way over from the East Coast to the West Coast. You realize it's quite a journey, but you have been such a trooper, and you have really learned to get your sea legs pretty quickly on these trips. Get thrown in.
Yes, you certainly throw me in the deep end. I remember when we went to Nashville. Was there a garden and art fair? I can't quite remember.
Yeah, the Nashville Antiques and Garden Show.
That was right, and you'd said book me to do a talk for 650 people.
That's right.
And I remember walking into the room, and it seemed to me an awful lot of people. I said, this looks more than 650.
Yeah, well, you were a major hit because they sold out the ballroom, and there was so much demand to get in, they opened up another ballroom and just had to put up a jumbotron. I remember we didn't get lunch that day because
I think
the signing line was so long for the books.
It was amazing, wasn't it? But I think in the end, it was 2,200 people
2,200,
in that hall.
Yeah.
And I thought when I was there, well, it's a bit late now to do anything other than go forwards. But it was very moving. And then when I'm signing the books, it's a joy to meet individual people. And I think I signed for 3.5 hours, actually. The thing that I remember was many people had double-barreled first names. In England, we have double-barreled surnames. But in Nashville, it was Mary Beth, Mary Ellen. Everybody when I was writing in the books, everyone had
That's a very Southern thing.
First name. But it was, and my goodness, we ate very well there too, didn't we?
We did, and we met some phenomenal people. I think Alexa Hampton was there. We had dinner with her, and
it was wonderful. I'd love to go back there. And then I think after that, actually, I left you to go to Williamsburg and gave some talks there. And then I was very honoured and went up to Washington, and Mrs. Rockefeller, Sharon Rockefeller, kindly welcomed me into her house, which felt surreal. It was such an honour. I mean, the Rockefeller family are, the aristocrats in some way of America, aren't they? And also with all they've done and contributed and given to community. So I felt very honoured to be there. And gave a talk in her drawing room, and then she was so kind. She put me in a car because it was snowing, and she didn't think I'd get the flight to New York. And I was meeting my husband and son there, so she kindly put me in a car with a hamper of food. I've never forgotten her generosity and kindness. Magic. There have been some entirely magical moments on our tours together. Actually, what stands out for you as we've gone through it?
We've just laughed so much. And I think, and we have the most wonderful clients. We've met the most wonderful people. I think that have been to the castle since then, Highclere since then, and have become friends.
Yeah, we've given some good auction prizes, and I remember Naples the ladies who organised Naples were phenomenal, and I think they've raised over, was it $400,000?
Almost
for
$500,000 for a luncheon, which was really amazing.
Well, it's
for a luncheon event.
Hats off to them. That was extraordinary. And then Vera Beach was amazing. And then Vancouver. We went shopping in Vancouver as well.
We had the best time in Vancouver. And then Victoria. Taking the helicopter over to Victoria was great fun.
Oh, it was lovely. And I think they let me sit in the front, although I don't really like heights, so I found it quite scary. But it was amazing and a wonderful country. So we have crisscrossed. And then, of course, Houston was amazing because do you remember going to the rodeo there?
Yes, and you were dressed up.
Do you say rodeo?
We say rodeo.
You say rodeo, okay, fine.
They say rodeo drive, but we say
rodeo.
Rodeos.
Must get it right.
Yeah, they did. It was so much fun. There was a great band that played. You wore your cowboy outfit.
I had a cowboy outfit.
I got some great pictures of you and our host together there, and that was great fun. And we did something with the public radio station there, and you did a great interview. You always get a lot of media attention, which is nice for the client.
And it's for the charity. It's a really good thing to do, and I'm looking forward to our adventures next year because they have been somewhat curtailed by the COVID experience of the last year and a half. So, and I know in April I'm hoping to be, and I'm calling it Palm Squared, Palm Springs and Palm Beach.
Yeah,
it sounds good.
It's perfect. It's perfect.
And there's some really meaningful charities as well, and I hope that the love of Downton Abbey brings different crowds to get acquainted with some not necessarily fashionable charities, but really worthwhile ones.
Exactly.
Within America, but it's whatever the client wishes to ask me to work with. Often I know it's education or sometimes mental health, and I think those are entirely key as we try and travel out of the pandemic at the moment. And of course you've been to Highclere, haven't you?
I have, yes. I've actually, Bruce, my husband, and I were drafted into being a table host for one of your white tie dinners, which was last minute, and I'm glad it was last minute, or I would have fretted over it.
Was that at Christmas? Was it? I can't remember. It was.
Maybe before Christmas. But oh my gosh, it was everything that anyone could possibly imagine extraordinary, and something I will never forget. We just had such a grand time.
And it's wonderful dressing up, because I think we've all been in jogging pants, I think you would say in America, or tracksuits, and kind of more loungewear if you like. But it is a treat to remember what it is to get dressed up and have a special occasion, and Highclere does that. And you've also come to the vintage garden party, and I bet you dressed up for that.
Oh, I dressed up for that. We had clients that came in from Victoria, and Vancouver for that. And we just had such a blast. I mean, if you want to feel like you're really experiencing the real Downton Abbey, go to the Vintage Garden Party.
Well, I've renamed it.
Oh, you have?
I have.
Okay.
I've renamed the Vintage Garden Party Magic of the Movies. And we held it last year, and I wrote a little script myself called The Unexpected Guest. And then I got, if you like, anybody who was, came on the day who wanted to take part, put their names in a hat. And there were about 10 different roles they could play, and it was hilarious. So it was the same kernel of the afternoon tea, the croquet, the badminton, carousel, all the very traditional sort of entertainment of an English summer's afternoon, and then added to it this little film script. It was honestly such fun, and I felt very moved because, it's towards the end of some of the worst of the COVID times, and some of the people came up to me and said, this is just the best afternoon of my life. And I just felt really moved because we just wanted, as a Highclere team, to make people feel happy. And it seemed that it was working, and they really appreciated all the trouble that all of the team had gone to, from decorating the marquees to the Gatsby girls and the music and oh my goodness, it was such fun, and we all were just crying with laughter as we did the film. I remember one of the Highclere team, you missed this bit actually, Roberto, was drafted in to pretend to be a footman. Roberto's Portuguese, like Louis, and quite new to the team, and he had to say, I think, 2 words. But anyway, he only managed one of them. So I said, for goodness sake, Roberto. And he said, 50% right, that's pretty good for me. So it was so funny. Oh my God, I can't tell you. We just cried with laughter. And I think some of the Highclere team and some of the spectators were literally on the ground. They could hardly stop laughing as much.
I can only imagine.
It was good.
Well, the one thing I remember the most, and that I value the most, and I think everyone values the most, when they're at Highclere or when they're with you at an engagement and you're speaking, you're just so kind and so real, and people just adore you because you make them feel good. You make them happy. You make them laugh. You're hilarious. I don't know if everyone knows that. They've probably picked up on that by now, but I think
we certainly laugh a lot.
But now that you've got such a great Instagram, people can see you, whether you're in a ditch or a backhoe or on a ladder on top of the castle or in a tree. It just cracks me up just saying, where is she today? It's like finding Waldo at Highclere Castle. Hey, there's another book for you.
I know. Well, it's at the moment, you're helping me promote Seasons at Highclere, which I have really loved writing. It's got many layers to it. It's got recipes, so it's a cookbook, and it's about gardening, and it's about growing, and it's about the layers of history from medieval times to Iron Age times, and it's about the poetry of the earth and the soil and the landscape. So I was very lucky that the publishers just kind of let me write it, and it's a joy to, with your help, to try to share it and give talks and promote it, and it kind of works for everybody actually. But have you read Seasons? I think haven't you?
I have, and I immediately sent an email off to you and Hannah and said, this is the best book she's ever written. But I say that after every single one because each one is so good. You just want to read the whole thing, and I want to cook everything in the cookbook, but it's so educational as well. You are so good at telling stories and telling the history in such a phenomenal, engaging way that you can't help but learn from it. And your blogs are the same way. Your blogs are so engaging, and I so look forward to every Monday morning seeing what you've come up with. And I think so many people do now. You have quite a following.
The pressure's on now every single Monday. Oh, goodness me. Sometimes I often write them in the week before the Monday, and sometimes they flow quite well, and other times the way my thought is going, I ended up editing it quite heavily, and sometimes there's a panic before I publish on a Monday morning. But I do enjoy it. The more you write, the more practice you have in writing and in honing the words and the sentences, I think the better it reads. So I think the consistency of writing a blog every week has helped me write the book Seasons at Highclere and given it a flow. And funnily enough, some of Geordie's and my friends, who I'm sure bought my books because they thought they should and supported, which is really kind, but some of them have sat down. I saw Mark and Charles reading it, and they think, this is really good.
But we didn't know you were that good. Wow, how about that?
It was so funny, actually, so I teased them about that. But nor do I mind it, and it's hit a few other spots as well, and I think I hope it leads people with a little bit of thought as we come out of the pandemic, as well as entertaining people, because I think the last year and a half has made us... It's stripped everything we care about, everything you and I care about, our families, our friends, being together, having a gin cocktail away, and it's made us very isolated and stripped us right back. And then as we try to rebuild it, but the solace in the time when we were more stripped back of what we took for granted as a society has been nature, has been going for a walk under a tree.
Right.
So that's what I sort of wanted to reference through seasons, and I think I hope a book which will offer peace and solace as well, actually.
I think it will. I think it does. Just like the blog, there were so many people shut in and couldn't leave their tiny apartments in New York or wherever, and they could live vicariously with you and through you, walking the grounds, taking in the beauty.
Which I always try to do, although I think I, like everyone else, found it pretty tough in the later stages of the pandemic during 2021. And I know how hard I found it, so I can only imagine how hard other people found it as well without the views. But I hope, sharing makes me feel better because it's a positive output, which then I think comes across, Patsy. If you had to pick any of the memorable adventures we've had together, what would be the most memorable one, where you laughed the hardest, perhaps, or where it went slightly wrong?
There's so many. Let me think.
There are rather a lot, aren't there?
The Downton premiere in New York.
Oh, wow.
That was amazing.
Yes.
And we were so incredibly blessed to be able to go. But having been to the castle and then seeing the castle come up on the big screen at the premiere, it just took my breath away. It's just on the big screen, and there's nothing like it. But we laughed so hard in the green room, I think. We had a few Prosecco's, I believe, and just talking to the cast and everyone, they were so funny. The after party was a blast. But I think one of the funniest things was in Victoria when we were able to host a preview showing of a Downton series, the new series.
Yes.
And everyone came dressed up as, in their vintage Downton attire. And everyone just had such a great time. It was like a big roaring party.
I did 150 selfies that day. Do you remember that?
Yes.
I was standing side. That I remember.
That is the funniest thing, against the Highclere backdrop, and everyone wanted their picture with you. And you always have the best smile, no matter how tired you are, you still look like you're ready to go. But that was fun. We had a great time in New Orleans, riding in the buggy, the horses, and
I do remember that because I've gone out and done a few other talks. I remember I've done one now which is on brand and reputation, which I find really interesting, and it's slightly outside, historical talks, but looking in the end at the fact that Highclere is a business. It's an antique house. It has authenticity and heritage, but then how can we use that to bring it forward and take advantage of the opportunities, always maintaining the tone, the reputation and the brand. So
exactly,
that was a more business talk down in New Orleans. It was quite cold as far as I remember, wasn't it?
It was cold.
I do remember the buggy ride. It was magic.
Yeah.
And delicious food again.
The food
we eat our way round,
crazy.
don't we?
Yeah, but getting back to brand and reputation, I think that's a great niche for you, because running a castle is running a business. And what you've been able to do with the resources that you have is just a testimonial to your ingenuity and using the land and what you have to create something that people will want. The Highclere Castle gin, that's won, every single major international award a gin can win.
It has gone really, really well, thank you. And I know everyone says in the last 18 months, we've all had to pivot and been innovative and all these words, which sort of fill me with an exhausted feeling now because it has been so exhausting.
Pivoting in circles.
But the gin with the virtual cocktail parties, and we have developed other skill sets, and I'm really proud of the gin. It's rooted in the heritage and the botanicals from Highclere. And then it's taking it forward with the reminder that we should be celebrating, having parties and dancing, having cocktails, and filling the castle with life. And then, of course, Georgie and I had to learn about an awful lot of cocktails, because until now I've been very, very good at ordering a cocktail from a bar. Yeah. And during the pandemic, I had to learn how to make them and what was in the cocktails, which has given me a different experience. But,
because Louis not waiting on you 100% of the time, is he?
Well, he wasn't at the first bit of COVID, and then when he came back, it was, oh my goodness, what a relief. And we had a wonderful virtual cocktail party in a temple, and Phoebe, my Arab filly, came and said hello, which was such fun. I loved
that. I saw that. That was great.
She's in the book as well, because she's such an interested horse. She always likes to come and say hello. She's more of a sort of large dog or a person than a horse. Yeah. And so she would go anywhere with me. She is a lot of fun. And funnily enough, she had an injury before I bought her, which means that I can't really ride her, I've discovered. So I'm going to continue to take her on walks, and I thought she could have a baby. So I'm going to do that.
Well,
instead.
you just had a new one this past year.
Yes, we've had some brood mares and foals, which has been great. And then I've got a new Shetland pony, Barney, who I don't know how big he thinks he is, but he is, not much bigger than my hip height, and he acts as amongst all the thoroughbreds as if he owns the field. But anyway, Phoebe is a really interesting person, so we're going to carry on being interesting together and go on different adventures, Phoebe and I, which is quite fun, really. So
you have the best animals, and Thelma and Louise and those little piglets they
my goodness,
melt my heart.
Have you heard what's happened with Thelma and Louise?
No.
Because they had their pig, so I've now got a collection of sows, Thelma and Louise. Then I had Lady Mary, Lady Sybil and Lady Edith, but I think it was Lady Sybil or Lady Edith. One of them went to live with Adam Henson, who is a TV presenter, which was great it's an endangered species, so it helps again promote that. And then I've had Lady Violet and Lady Cora. So I've got this boar called Arthur. And although all the fields are separated, when one of the sows comes on heat, they just go through the fences and they go and find Arthur. So at the moment, I have 47 piglets.
Oh, my God.
And my husband doesn't know.
He doesn't? Speaking of husbands, we have found that it's easier to get forgiveness sometimes than permission. But I think that's universal with women, isn't it?
I think it is. There's a few things I've done which I have found it easier just to think that I'm sure he'll be happy.
They're always happy in the end. I found that to be the case anyway.
I really hope so. But it's been... so Highclere is busy with its animals and farm, and although I haven't gone to see them for a little time, so I must go and make my way back to Thelma Louise and Lady Mary and Lady Mary is quite tricky when she's farrowing and having piglets. You kind of keep your distance. Lady Violet's actually been the one who's been very friendly recently, so that's rather nice. It is funny. And then all the dogs as well. I never take the dogs there. A lot of animals don't necessarily get on with pigs, and they're kept a little bit away from the castle. They're quite a regulated species, obviously, and the dogs just kind of stay around the house and have a very nice life. Alfie is an amazing dog because he just has his own route into the castle. He goes through all the bins. He gets himself shut in offices because he's gone in the office to find a bin behind the door. The door then shuts and he then barks. I'm then miles away up different staircases, but all the dogs give me such joy, and I know you followed them on Instagram.
And I have all the fencer books as well.
Of Dogtown Abbey.
Yeah, Dogtown Abbey. And my little granddaughter, Busy, just loves that size book. She carries it around, so I can't wait till she can read it for herself. But
they've been lovely, and it's a huge achievement of Karina Hagen of Viking Cruises, because she was the one who came up with the idea, and I've contributed to 2 or 3 of them. But it's her idea of taking children around the world with Finza, her beloved Labrador, and all Finza's friends. It's such a charming way to do it, and they're good fun, those books, actually.
And her Finza was from one of your dogs. It was a puppy.
She was, I know. So she is Alfie and Scooby's sister. And then Finza had puppies. So Karina has Charlie. And I have Stella and Freya, who I'm so fond of. They're such...
And they're very fond of you, you can tell.
Yes, we've spent a lot of time together, and the way a Labrador's eyes, I think in particular, look at you, because the Spaniels look at you just to check out and then they're busy, but Labradors are so centred around people that it is quite special, actually, and they have the most beautiful sort of liquid eyes of love and friendship. But you'll have to have a dog at one point.
Yes, I think Bruce is waiting for his puppy at some point.
Which would be lovely, actually, won't it? So I don't know, we've got a busy spring, Palm Springs and Palm Beach, my P-squared trip.
Yeah, P-square.
And then I'm very honoured to be asked up to Newport.
That'll be a very fun trip.
And I hope we can raise some good money. They're an extraordinary organisation, and I have so enjoyed my initial Zoom meetings with them. So I hope we can bring some attention. Of course, that is where Julian Fellows, who wrote Downton Abbey, has set The Gilded Age, which is coming out soon.
Right.
I think on HBO, which I hope people will much enjoy. And it was an extraordinary achievement to film that during COVID. And of course, the Downton film was filmed at Highclere during COVID, which was a huge achievement of how they managed the process of making sure we were all COVID secure and yet could pull off what is a really big and beautiful film, which I think will give everyone such pleasure. A few tears, some laughter.
Yeah, the trailer is so good. The trailer just really whets your appetite. So.
And there the castle goes up every time. And like you, when the castle went up on the silver screen, I just wanted to cry, actually.
Yeah.
And everybody clapped, and you sort of, Georgie and I can hardly believe it. We've been very lucky, very grateful to Julian Fellows and to Gareth Neiman, the Carnival team, to be part of the journey of this extraordinary phenomenon that is Downton Abbey.
Yeah. And all the happiness and joy that Highclere, as a result, has brought to people.
Oh, I hope so, Patsy. But I hope you and I can do many more tours and trips together. And
I hope so, too.
And you've got to come to the Magic of the Movies, by the way, next September 2022.
Okay.
Because
I will put it on my calendar.
that should be in your calendar, and I think it will just be such fun and catch everybody on a wave of happiness.
I think I might try a Highclere Castle gin before I read my script.
It's going to go really well. So you're saying you want a part, so I think you should have a part.
Oh, dear.
Patsy, thank you so much for joining me today, and I'm looking forward to many, many more adventures with you. Thank you.
Oh, well, it's been such a joy to get to know you and to travel with you and have the great adventures that we have together and see the joy you bring to other people. Thank you for that.
Aww.
Thank you.